I'm going through my garage and taking boxes of old books and bringing them to a local bookstore as donations. And one of them was this old anthology of stories from school, from high school. And it had a bookmark in it. It was open to Ode to a Grecian Urn by Keats. I think it's Keats. And I remember being in the classroom, and the English teacher says, "Okay, what's a Grecian urn?" Kid in the back, "About 100 drachma an hour." It's bad enough to have dad jokes as a teacher, but when there's a student who's obviously taken your class 9 times and knows all your jokes. Okay, how are you guys?
Good, how you doing?
It seems to me that we never introduce ourselves. I'm Carl Franklin, that's Dwayne LaFlotte, and that's Patrick Hines.
But which one's which?
Well, that's Patrick. We know.
Right.
We know Tomahawk.
If it's talking about missiles and tomahawks, it's Patrick.
Right.
I talk about tanks, too.
And the other thing is, we would love to do this show live in front of an audience, wouldn't we?
Heck yeah, we would.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I love audiences.
Yeah. So if you've got a security conference or a conference, or you just want some comic relief with a little edutainment, send us an email. Where you say,
no inquiries from countries that I criticize, please.
Yeah.
Right. We'd love you to come to Kremlin. No,
to command performance.
Yeah, we would never make it out alive.
Ew.
All right. So what are these stories here? We got what? 6 stories, it looks like?
That's good mix.
Yeah.
Good
yeah.
mix.
And 2 of them are kind of the same story, but together.
All right.
So 5, really. It was good.
All right. So, school district in Los Angeles.
Oh, this is so sad, honestly.
No bueno.
Yeah, no bueno. So we've started to see a shift of attacks towards school districts, and it's been interesting because most of them have been smash and grabs, right? Most of them have been ransomware, and we've talked about it on this show plenty of times, where different school districts have had ransomware happen overnight. Either a student or a teacher or whatever clicks on the wrong link. Everything gets ransomwared and they have to pay to get their data back. And that's the classic attack. What happened over this weekend, Saturday night at about 10 o'clock at night, the Los Angeles Unified School District, which, by the way, is the second largest school district in the United States.
Wow.
They have 600,000 end users that they're responsible for. So that's staff, students, etc. So it's a massive school district. 10 o'clock at night on Saturday, they noticed abnormal activity on some of their servers. And they actually followed a really good process. First off, kudos to them for identifying this abnormal activity. Secondly, they actually locked down all the servers. They shut them all down. Like everything just went down as quickly as they possibly could. Because you got to imagine they were worried about a ransomware attack, right? That this might be ransomware and might be encrypting everything.
Right.
Unfortunately, it was way more nefarious than that. It was not ransomware, but an actual targeted attack from a nation state level actor.
Whoa.
Do we attribute it yet?
Not yet. And what's interesting is you could tell the telltales because they're very subtly different when somebody announces a breach. I've seen school districts go, "Hey, listen, we were breached. We got ransomware. We're trying to recover." And the way LA came out is they said, "Hey, listen, we've had a breach. Services will be down," and that's it. They didn't talk about ransomware. They didn't talk about storage. They didn't talk about it. Was just there's been weird activity, and now they're engaged with law enforcement figuring it out, and they've narrowed it down to 3 countries. But they won't announce which of the 3.
My best is I bet you'd have a good guess.
Do they know how long the attack had been going on before they realized it?
So a lot of this is still unfolding. So I would say I don't think they did. I mean, their identification, they have an internal monitoring system for aberrations like this. So they're probably running a network intrusion detection system would be my guess. And when they saw alarms go off, they immediately acted on trying to shut down the system. So the assumption would be It wasn't long.
Yeah.
But then there are a couple things in the story that don't quite make sense to me, where they say, yeah, we saw this at 10:30 at night on Saturday. But the perpetrators who were breaking into the system immediately were going for the facilities systems, specifically information about private sector contractor payments.
Huh. Interesting.
Highly targeted. And it wasn't, okay, we just got in here, let's figure out what's here and see what we can take. Like, if you figured them out at 10:30 and imagine within a couple of hours you shut them down, then they were really good about finding out where to go. So I don't know if the attackers were in there longer or not. We'll see more over the next coming weeks.
But you know what's interesting about this, and I know that you guys do forensics on cases like this where you go in and actually try to figure stuff out.
Yes.
You know, the most popular podcast ever is called Serial.
I've heard of it.
It was by a journalist who picked up this cold case and started investigating it.
Wow.
And it was a murder case. And just an independent investigation, and you know, every single episode got a little further down the line. I wonder if that's something that you guys could do without giving away the farm.
That'd be awesome.
Giving away the secrets.
Or buying the farm.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear that there's a profit motive involved with a nation state, I think North Korea, because they're strapped for cash as a norm because of the sanctions. And one of the things that they do with their hacking is they try to substitute hard currency. And so if I had to guess based on what you've said, my first guess would be North Korea.
But, you know, the thing that strikes me is that they're going after these contractors, you said, who are U.S. contractors, right?
Contractor payments.
Yeah, specifically private sector contractor payments. So anybody who's working in the private sector getting paid.
Which means they might want to try to get, like, if there's $1 million payment to a contractor, they'll try to get it to their bank instead of their bank. And that's a common thing we've investigated many times.
But doesn't that seem like whoever this nation state is would have some inside help?
No, well.
So that's the other interesting thing. Now, A, if they had inside help, they wouldn't have been, if they were in finance, this would have been easy, right? B, so it more tends for me to think that maybe they had either leaked information or maybe prior ransomware that had run or something along those lines. Or they stayed dormant and just gave them information on the network. Yeah, because it did seem like they attacked relatively quickly. But the other interesting shift here is we typically see these style of attacks where you're going after payment systems is a social engineering attack. It's a call or it's an email saying, hey, we changed our bank account. We really need you to switch this bank account, whatever. And you're preying on the fact that somebody is going to change that information in the payment system. And that's not what's done here.
This is Joe's discount air conditioning and heating and cooling system.
Well, this looks like the preparation for that. Because if I get into this system, if I get into this information, I can find out who's owed money and when. And then I can try to intercede just before that payment goes out and say, oh, our bank details changed. Please send it to this bank because the merger between this and this. And then...
Yeah, but I'm just wondering if they're cutting out the middleman, right?
So they're going to just go edit the system.
Yeah, they're just going to go in the system and go, you know what, I'm going to change these bank accounts. Right.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, if you have access to the financial system, why not?
That's why you're the evil hacker.
So, yeah, it's an interesting evolution of attacks. Thank you.
So wait a minute, did you just give away some...
It's criminal career advice.
Yes, criminals. Don't rely on those silly end users to help you get your money. No, edit the database directly. Now you'll have your money fast.
You better never really break the law because that'll add to your sentence, that statement right there.
Right
yeah,
there.
I will.
Yep.
There'll be other countries you're not allowed to enter.
That's 5 to 10 right there.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Put them on the list.
All right, so that story kind of stands on its own, but some of these other ones are a bit more connected, right?
They are.
What's the story about former Conti ransomware members now are attacking Ukraine?
So this is going to be an interesting thread between the next sort of 3 mentions on Conti. So Conti, as we know, the big bad, ransomware guys on the internet who sided with Russia.
And then got owned over it.
Right. And it was interesting, actually. There's so many cool things with this crazy stuff that happens on the internet. But you guys remember, I don't know if you remember, back in, I think it was August, this ransomware group, the Conti ransomware group, had hacked into, I think it was Accenture. And there was a data breach with Accenture. And then there was a DDoS that happened with some of ContiWare servers. That was pretty low level. ContiWare was real easy to shake it off. Like, you know what? Wasn't a big deal. Not a thing. Fast forward a little bit. So now Conti is attacking, and that I'm going to pick that thread up in the next story. Fast forward a little bit. Conti here, you know, the Conti ransomware group, because they've been dispersed a little bit, right? Remember, there was some infighting going on. Some of the code leaked out on the internet. So that made it much harder for that system to work. So they had to go dark and kind of rework things, reinvent how they're encrypting things and that sort of stuff. So they're not detected. What's
dark
that?
Bear?
Right, dark bear.
Where's the dark?
Not so fancy.
Yeah, there's a big.
Not so fancy.
right. Plain bear. They're plain bear.
On the lowdown bear.
So what's interesting is these members of the ContiWare ransom group. By the way, if I remember correctly, there's also a bounty right now out on ContiWare members from the United States. It's a $10 million bounty for anybody who can identify a ContiWare member. Yeah. So that's interesting. And that's been going on. So you know, not only is their infrastructure been kind of torn apart and they've been kind of knocked down, as, you know, they were the number one ransomware team and now they're kind of all over the place. And there's now a bounty for Conti ransomware members. So what they've done is they've dispersed into other groups, right? So other smaller ransomware groups are now picking up Conti ransomware members. But those ransomware members are still keeping the same targets. So they're still attacking Ukraine.
So is that how they're being identified? I guess Google identified them?
Yeah. So Google's TAG team, which is their threat analytics analysis group, is awesome. They're really good at really picking apart. I mean, lots of people say attribution is hard. And it is, right? Patrick and I talk about this all the time. Like, Patrick always tells me, hey, listen, somebody hacked into this place. And
it requires mistakes by the actors.
Right.
It does.
It requires mistakes from the actors, but they can also fake mistakes to make it look like someone else. That's the problem, is the second guessing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, is we've even seen cases where someone has tried to fake poor English to make it look like a non-English actor. And then, like, linguists will say, no, that culture wouldn't have used this word next to this word. So even if they were learning English and they were poor at English, they would have never said this, right? So it's, you know, there's a fascinating, like, psychology subsect of, like, analyzing ransomware stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, you can fake anything, can't you?
Well, you can, but you've got to be expert at it. And so it's...
You got to be good.
There's always a clue.
You got to be expert at fake English.
Yes.
Well, you have to understand...
really bad English.
You have to understand the language, the other language, so that you will know what mistakes they would make and what mistakes they wouldn't make.
Right.
Based on what they're translating and how they're saying it. All right.
So it's just interesting that we've seen this group now start to break apart into different types of subsects. So based on the indicators, according to the TAG group, members of the UAC 0098 are former members of the Conti ransomware group. They just label ransomware people. Here's the other thing: is right now there's this big kerfuffle in the security world because TAG, which is Google's analytics team, labels APTs or advanced persistent threats in a different way than CrowdStrike, in a different way than Norton. And so you start to go, wait, who is
which one's
UAC 0098? Oh, wait, that's known also as FIN12, which is also the wizard spider, and you're like, okay, you guys are killing me.
Wizard bear.
Wizard bear. So it's...
Hey, that was pretty good fake English, Russian English. We got to watch you, man.
Shh. I write all my malware is. Anyways, moving on. So it's just interesting to see that this even though the team has been dispersed and the infrastructure has been mildly attacked, we've seen a lot of these members start to now move over to other groups like Black Cat, Hive, Avos Locker, Hello Kitty. Like all of these are different sects of ransomware teams.
Okay.
So maybe they'll start to raise the game of those ransomware teams. Maybe they won't. Maybe they're just in hiding. Who knows?
Just the fact that the Conti cyber gang wanted to start going after Ukraine and defending Russia shows their national, sovereignty, their national allegiance.
Right.
And so those are things that give you away as well. What you do and how you do it.
Right.
There's always ways that you think you cover your tracks. It's like trying to commit the perfect murder. You might get away with it and you might blame the wrong person. That does happen sometimes, but it's really hard to pull off.
Yeah, and a lot of times they're acting as an initial access broker. So we talked about this before. There's a lot of sort of nuance to these types of malware teams. Some of them go for the smash and grab, right? Install ransomware, run it, just let it run amok. Or some of them go for, social engineering, then installing malware that gives access to systems or ransomwares. In this particular case, they also act as an initial access broker, which is they'll gain access to a system and hide as much as they possibly can. Not doing massive amounts of destruction, but then selling their access or using it strategically. So, there's a lot of nuance there.
Well, we'll be watching them. In the meantime, there's this 780th Military Intelligence Brigade that has a Twitter account. Yeah, cyber, that has a Twitter account. And there's a tweet here. We're linked to it.
First off, I love their Twitter account.
Yeah, let's go. If you just go to their page, Dwayne showed me this before. If you just go to their page and look at their banner, they're dressed up in, flak, and they have keyboards with blinky lights on their shoulders.
So awesome.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, and I love their tagline too. There's always the Semper Fi and all that good stuff. Their tagline, translated to English from Latin, is everywhere and always fighting. I knew you'd appreciate that, Patrick.
Yeah.
Yes.
The cyber team, everywhere and always fighting, which is cool.
So their tweet is, someone is flooding Cobalt Strike servers operated by former members of the Conti ransomware gang with anti-Russian messages to disrupt their activity.
So this is really cool. And, there were actually the 780th Military Brigade was actually, had linked an article from Bleeping Computer. So let's break this down a little bit. Cobalt Strike. We've talked about Cobalt Strike in the past.
Just tell us again.
Yeah, Cobalt Strike is a C2. So it's a command and control structure that's used for all of your little ransomware remote access Trojans to report into. You need to command them all, right? If you have 1,000, 10,000, 2 million agents out there hiding, you need them to be able to communicate back.
It's the Pentagon.
Yeah, exactly. So they're using what's called the Cobalt Strike team server, which is literally just a C2 that allows them to communicate back, and you can send them all commands, to all of them at once, or just individual ones.
I thought Cobalt Strike was a game when I first heard it. It sounds like it, doesn't it?
It's all a game.
Right.
It's all a game,
It's
Carl.
all a game. It is all a game, Carl. Yeah, it's a puzzle. So what's interesting here is Cobalt Strike currently, the newest implementations of it run as straight up just binary, but the older versions ran in Java. I think it was 4.6. Where there was this ability for you to try and request authentication to it. And then you literally could make not a lot of requests. Like in this particular case, it's 2 requests per second, which isn't a lot. From a DDoS flooding standpoint, 2 requests a second is nothing. It's super slow. But because you're making this request to a Java application in a certain way, it's actually eating so much memory.
Because it's got to build all the tokens and get ready for it, and then it never receives the next packet.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we
and
talked
then they
about
just send
that
off another
technique.
request. Yeah.
So basically, it's eating memory, and the what's in memory is just waiting for the next request, and you have a certain amount of resources on a server, and if you just eat them all up, then you've stopped. Well,
and even if it's just the network, responses and things like that, even if it doesn't cause a memory crash, it causes. I can send you 2 packets and you have to do what would equate to 55,000 packets worth of network work to get ready for the next one. And then it never comes.
Right. So what's interesting here is
the messages themselves.
Well, the messages are awesome.
They're awesome. Stop the war. Be a Russian patriot.
Right.
Yeah.
15,000 plus dead Russian soldiers. Be a Russian patriot. Yeah. So, and the password is always stop Putin. Stop Putin. So it's interesting. These are the usernames and passwords that are attempting, quote unquote, to log in. Always the same kind of messages, and it's causing such a DDoS that it's shutting down a lot of their infrastructure.
Distributed denial of service.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you. So what's cool here though is, so the way that they can attribute this to, remember, we just said Conti ransomware members are kind of dispersed all over the place, right? So how are they attributing this back to Conti? These are all of the old team servers that Conti used to have in their infrastructure. They decided to spin them back up and keep using them. So yeah,
some hackers are lazy.
Somebody's framing them, right?
Could be.
Well, somebody's still paying for them.
But wait a second. Let's go back to the story we had just 2 seconds ago. Google says that former Contiware ransomware members are attacking Ukraine. So you've got this Google tag team identifies Conti attacking Ukraine. And then in the same breath, a lot of the Conti ransomware servers are now getting hit with a DDoS.
There's a cyber war.
I don't know. I don't think it's a far stretch. Right. I don't think it's a far stretch to say.
There's a cyber war. Right now, we're seeing things that we haven't seen before the Ukraine war, at least not at this scale. We saw Anonymous and some of the other organizations, LulzSec, go after other cyber organizations. But normally there were corporate cyber organizations. This is like inter-gang violence. We're seeing someone like Anonymous, someone like LulzSec going after Conti. And it's not nation states, it's not corporations. It's the bad guys fighting the bad guys probably. And you can choose your bad guy. You know, maybe the one you like is not the bad guy. But this is different from what we've seen before the Ukraine war started. And it's probably going to continue for as long as this war goes on and maybe even beyond.
Wow.
The cyber war is real.
And it's interesting who gets to play in the war. I don't know that I put this story in. I actually should have.
Anyone with an internet connection.
Right. Well, yeah, but even worse than that, it's obviously country versus country, but then there's ransomware gangs, and there's also security researchers coming into the play. I'll find the article again. I will put it up here. But there was it was like Entrust.com, security company got breached by I think it was Conti. No, Lockbit. I think it was Lockbit. And what had happened is they were threatening to release some of the confidential information because they're a security company. And that as soon as Lockbit released a couple documents with sensitive information in it, all of their servers on the Tor nodes got shut down, were DDoSed. And
wow.
And the article says, well, how do you know it was this Entrust company that just got hacked? And the messages are all delete all the Entrust security.com data MFers. And the whole thing, like every time were DDoS.
Maybe it's just a fan.
Maybe. So it's interesting to see, even companies now that are getting breached and data getting stolen are hacking back. And it's even hard for that attribution. Okay. Yeah. Sure, you can't attribute it to the hacker. You can't attribute it back to the research company either. But yeah.
So I'd be very curious to know what the temperature in the country, in the US at least, is now on the idea of hackback, because attribution is so hard.
Yes.
Right now there was some popularity in the idea of letting companies do a little bit of self-defense. But the Computer Crimes Act does not really allow for it at all. So there'd have to be some change in legislation.
And we talked about this before. Let's just clarify. Hackback means you get hacked, and so you hack the hacker.
You go back after them. You try to recover your data. You try to stop their servers, or you put a piece of ransomware in files that you never planned to read. I know a lot of people are keen to the idea of, I could put a share up on my network that only administrators have access to that has ransomware. And if you download the files and execute them, they're gonna ransomware you, but no user has access to it.
Poison honeypot.
And the administrators know to stay away from a poison pill. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's illegal.
Yeah.
That's not at least most people's opinion. The other problem is the Computer Security Act. I think it's the Computer Security Act, but whatever the laws are in the United States are vague enough in the West that people don't want to be the trial case. They don't want to have to spend $1 million to defend themselves in case someone thinks they went too far.
Right.
And so there's things that aren't explicitly made illegal, but it's assumed they're illegal. It's assumed you'd be charged. And so until there's legislation that defines exactly what you can do, most people see their hands as tied.
All right, let's move on from Conti. Now there's there's two other stories that we have, and I'll let one of you guys introduce them. How about you, Dwayne?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the evil proxy. If you follow security news feeds, and like we all should, and you see what's going on, you'll probably have noticed there was an article this week, and it's gotten a lot of notoriety. Evil proxy phishing as a service. That's not new, right? You can do phishing as a service, and all that is criminals decide, hey, I could phish, but what I could do is create an infrastructure to phish and sell it to other criminals.
Because if you teach a man to fish,
yes,
it's
still a charge. It's still
a felony.
It's still life in prison.
If a fish falls in the woods and there's no one there to hear it, is it still illegal?
I think
if you fish in the ocean, if you fish in the ocean, you get mercury poisoning. If you fish in the wrong country, you get lead poisoning.
Dwayne is holding his head because he's so pissed off because I've basically connected synapses in his brain that he does not want connected.
No, it's making me sad. So on that note, I'm going to mute Carl and Patrick now.
Okay, sorry. Serious now.
No, you're good. You're good. Serious. So this evil proxy is phishing as a service. You can hire them to do phishing on your behalf and all sorts of cool stuff. And I say cool stuff, but cool stuff. And that's not new. What's interesting here is the fact that they're using a reverse proxy to bypass MFA. So let me unpack that because there's a lot going on there and sounds scary.
I asked Mark Rendell on .NET Rocks what a reverse proxy is, and he basically said it's a proxy.
It is a proxy.
I still don't know what a reverse proxy is rather than just a proxy. I know a proxy is something that you connect to, and it connects to something else on your behalf and sort of filters the information. But is a reverse proxy a server that you connect to that is what the proxy connects to?
Yes. So in this case, it's a server. For all of us old school guys, it looks exactly like a normal proxy. You hit the server, it then serves up another service. But here's a little bit of a difference. When you hit this server over, mybankhacking.com, if I go there,
joesdiscountsharkcages.com.
There you go. Right. If I go there, let's say it's joesdiscountsharkcages.com, and I want to hack that site. What I would do is create a reverse proxy. I'd put it up in like Amazon or Azure, and then I would register the domain Joe's Discount Shark, maybe with
Cage.
SHARKE, or sharkcage.com. Not cages, but cage.
Right.
So very similar, typo squatting. And then I would send out an advertisement, right? I'd say, hey, look, we have a discount on cages this week, right?
Yeah.
And when you click on it, you would go to my proxy. My proxy would always show Joe's Discount Sharkcages.com. Nothing special here. It's a proxy.
Right.
Pass through.
But what's interesting is that proxy is performing pass through. So when I type in my username and password, the proxy sees it. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's happened many times in the past. But what's also interesting is now that we here at Security This Week and every security person you've ever probably talked to has said, always do multi-factor authentication.
Right.
Always do multi-factor authentication.
Right.
2FA is the way to go. You have to do it. Mm-hmm. But when you think about how that works on the back end, when you log into a website, you give them a username and a password. Mm-hmm. Then when it asks you for your 2FA code, whether that's you're using a Google Authenticator app on your phone or whether you're getting texted that code, you type that code in to the web page. Mm-hmm. So, the proxy sees that. Is that useful to the proxy? Well, no. The code changes all the time. That's the whole point of 2FA. Changes every couple of seconds.
Right.
What does the website hand you back?
Token.
You've given it a username and password.
An authentication token.
An authentication token, which is usually stored in a cookie that you can use, which now the proxy has. That's what is happening here for the MFA bypass.
That's their permanence.
Yeah. So a lot of people are going, oh my God, MFA was hacked and blah, blah, blah. And you could just bypass it super easily. And it's like, no. Once you understand how to break the system down, you are infinitely more secure with multi-factor authentication than you are without, first off.
Yes.
Secondly, this is not a instant pwn button. You have to have clicked on something you shouldn't have. Secondly. And third, you once you do that, you click on something you shouldn't, you're not going to be able to tell. Honestly, these sites look exactly the same.
So I think if I could simplify this better for Joe Sixpack, it's still safer to swim with a Joe's Discount shark cage than it is without a shark cage at all.
Correct. Yes. 100%. Never go in without a shark cage.
At least the shark will have flossed.
So if I were to distill this down to a moral, thank you, Carl.
Or an immoral.
Honestly, you'll see this. It's a lot of hype, but the two things you can protect yourself with is A, no matter how bad you hear 2FA is, it's better than not having it.
Right.
And better to have the shark cage than not, even if it's a discount one. And B, just always be careful what you're clicking on. Don't
click on URLs in email.
Right.
Caveat emptor.
The only other interesting part of this article, and this is from securityaffairs.co, was one of the campaigns that was discovered using this phishing as a service was actually against PyPy packages.
Python?
Yeah. So in Python, you can do like a pip install and say, I want to pip install requests, and it will pull down the entire web requests library for you.
By the way, Python is a language, for those who don't know, a computer language.
So yes, you're right, Carl. Python's a programming language and also a really big snake. But in this case, we're talking about the programming language of Python. So you have this central repository where anybody can author a library. Mm-hmm. Right. And all the developers on the phone are on the phone. Wow. On the phone. That would be just Carl.
Welcome to three old guys try to talk.
On the wireless. Here on the wireless.
I'm going down to the Walmarts.
Where's my scotch and my slippers? All right. So if you develop a library and you put it on the internet, you would put it in this Python package index or PyPy.
Right.
And then anybody can request it, can pull it down. Now, that sounds like that might be insecure, but the code is up there. Everybody gets to review it, whatever. So it should be relatively secure. Exactly. Right. It's like a GitHub thing. So the first package that this was discovered with was people trying to, malicious actors trying to get access to authors' PyPy packages. Mm-hmm. So I would send an email to Carl and say, hey, your PyPy package needs to be updated. And he would click the link and he would log into the PyPy interface and use his 2FA. And now I would have access to the library. So now you'd think what the next step in this dance would be the malicious actors going in and modifying that library to add code that they want to add. So just trying to understand like what downstream actually would happen with this type of attack. It can be pretty dangerous, but
could be.
But MFA still good. MFA good. No MFA bad.
All right, well, guys, we got to wrap it up soon because I have a room at the Holiday Inn.
Do you?
What?
What? I'm not sure you do.
What'd I say?
You may not.
Is that funny?
You may not.
No.
Well, the next article is about the Holiday Inn being hit by a cyber attack.
Oh, what are the odds of that?
This just in. Scoop says Holiday Inn owner.
So
has confirmed company has been hit by cyber attack.
Yeah, the company got hit. Not one.
Are we going back old timey that far? How about Hear Ye, Hear You? Going to rename it?
We should. Yes, we should. Yes.
It's not pronounced ye, right? It's pronounced the. The Y-E. Yeah, the character is an old character. Is a bastardization of an old character that was PH.
That's true of ye old.
Yeah.
But is it true of hear ye?
Yeah, it's the same word.
Hear thee, hear thee.
Why would they say hear the?
Yeah, that's true. Ye might be you in that case.
Yeah, I think it is in that case.
Hear you, or y'all. That's it.
Y'all.
We're gonna
Here
in the
y'all,
north.
here y'all.
We're gonna
That's where y'all
stop
came
using
from.
y'all because that's a southern thing. We're gonna use ye. Wouldn't that be pretentious
ye.
and bougie? Hey, ye
Very
want to go
bougie.
to? You want to go to dinner now? How about at the Holiday Inn? I hear they're having a special. And back to you, Dwayne.
Awesome. So thank you, Carl. So the Holiday Inn, obviously we all know who the Holiday Inn is, large holiday, intercontinental, yes, Holiday Inn hotel chain. Yeah. So they, it looks like they had an unauthorized access to some of their booking applications and channels, and there may have been a possible breach there. They're actually working on restoring access to those systems now, but there you have it. If you're having issues with the Holiday Inn, it's not just you. Yeah, it's maybe systemic. So,
wow, that's a short one and a good one to end on. Yeah, I'm gonna call this show "Conti Members Strike Back."
Like it.
Because that's what happened. That's the big story.
Or they got struck back.
Yeah.
They did. The Conti slapdown.
The return of the anti-Conti. What do you call them? They're not the Jedi.
Right. No.
You got the Conti members strike back and then the return of the
Conti.
The Red Hats.
I like
All
it.
right, guys. Thanks. See you next week.
Thanks, Carl. See you soon.
Always a good time. See you, Carl.
Yep.